What's your best karma is a bee moment you have witnessed? I was in daycare as a child. I had very long hair that my dad always put into a ponytail. There was a girl that would pull my ponytail all the time. We were doing a musical chairs thing at the end of the day while parents were picking us up. The girl was behind me and kept yanking my ponytail. I kept telling her to stop. The teacher didn't see anything, so I can't do anything about it. There were a bunch of parents waiting for us to finish our game, my mom included, and she kept doing it, and the teacher didn't see it, so I turned around and punched her as hard as I could. She stumbled into the cubbies where we kept our coats. The teacher tried to chastise me, and my mom was like, "Nope, I didn't see anything." Didn't even get in trouble. I'm from San Diego, and during the summer, you have to claim bonfire pits on the beach really in the morning if you want it for that night. So my friends and I got to the beach at 8 a.m. and stayed there so we can get a bonfire going into the night. Just before sundown, this one couple asked if they could share the bonfire with us, and since our group wasn't too big, we decided to share it with them. However, that couple proceeded to bring in a group of like 15 others, and they literally surrounded the pit and pushed us out. We were peed, but we were so tired from being at the beach all day, so we decided to head out. Little did we know that night had an extreme high tide warning, and when we moved all our stuff over the wall that divided the beach walk with the beach, a huge wave came in and washed out that whole group surrounded by our bonfire. The wave flipped over their table of food, took a handful of sandals back into the ocean, and destroyed all their stuff. The best part was this one girl was trying to jump the wave to save herself, but she didn't jump high enough and ended up falling right back into the waters. Karma's a bee. Neptune decided to take revenge on your behalf. I was running laps on a grass field in the military when I was about to lap a guy who'd always lap the crap out of me. So as I passed him, I yelled, "Gotcha, bee," and immediately stepped in a hole in the ground and twisted my ankle. Despite the pain of jacking my ankle up, I thought the karmic payout was hilariously timed. That's hilarious. My old manager was a monster. Belittled people, made a hostile environment, denied anything that would make coworkers happy while giving himself every comfort, even denied me a half day to go to my mother's funeral, adding, "Would it be a big deal if you couldn't go?" He finally stepped on his dong after he wrote up a fictitious counseling statement about someone, and the entire office revolted. The manager wasn't fired like we wanted, but he was relieved. So in comes the new manager, very well regarded, 20-year Air Force veteran, retired at E9. Humble guy who knew how to handle people. We have our first awkward team meeting, old manager bitterly in attendance. As the new manager is giving his nice to meet you speech, he sees the douchebag glaring around the table trying to intimidate people. He stops talking, pauses for a few seconds, and then says, "You know, when I was in the Air Force, I learned that if you take care of your people, they'll take care of you." He then stared directly at the old manager and said, "And if you don't take care of your people, they'll take care of you." Sitting on a highway late at night because of a bad car accident. The highway was packed and barely moving. One guy thinks he's smarter than everyone else and tries to drive on the shoulder. He makes a good little ways before running into an on-ramp, also packed with cars. He had nowhere to go, and no one let him in. He was stuck between cars in the rightmost lane and cars from the on-ramp. Everyone stuck bumper to bumper and flowed around him. I went from watching him pass me and almost getting out of my view to passing him and losing sight of him in my rear view. I love highway justice. My husband and I call people like that the dong of the mile, because there's always one. When I was a kid, we visited Montreal. We had gotten a hockey puck as a souvenir. While we were in our hotel, my sister decided to mess with me by hiding it. I got mad and yelled in my high-pitched voice, "Give me back my hockey puck!" before smacking her in the head with a pillow. Guess where she had hidden it? As a parent, I don't even think I could get mad for that. Driving to Chicago and a crazy guy is road raging, swerving erratically while yelling about shooting us. He zooms off. 5 or so miles later, we see his van upside down in the ditch. He's standing on the shoulder, talking to a cop. Should have pulled over and said, "Hey, about you threatening to shoot me back there, sorry, but you were going so fast I couldn't keep up. But hey, you're welcome to give it a shot now." I got rear-ended in a turn lane by a girl texting. She was doing 45 miles per hour and I was stopped. No major injuries. I went to her court date hoping she got a big fine or something. She got a $50 ticket. I was a little bit upset. As I was sitting at the stoplight to pull out of the court, I watched her run a red light and T-bone a cop. I don't normally laugh at other people's misfortune. However, I laughed my butt off at that one. I was driving my Jeep very carefully in a snowstorm, and someone in a Mustang passed me in an unsafe manner. He almost lost control of his vehicle, which would have caused an accident that included me. Picture someone dangerously fishtailing right in front of you with an 18-wheeler coming at you in the other lane. Saw him in the ditch about 5 minutes later. Idiot. I've had that exact thing happen before. There is nothing better than driving past them stuck in the ditch and just laughing at them. On my drive back from school, I witnessed a car run a red light in front of a cop. The car was subsequently pulled over. I pointed laughing and then immediately smashed into the car in front of me. I work in an ER, and once a girl got brought in by ambulance after being assaulted. She was walking down the street when some guy tackled her to the ground and tried to drag her down an alley. A good Samaritan managed to chase him off and call the cops. Like 20 minutes later, they brought in a guy in full cardiac arrest. Turns out, the police found the attacker and chased him several blocks when he collapsed and his heart gave out. He was dead on arrival, and the victim ID'd him right there in the ER. I was kicking a customer out for being racist and cursing at one of my employees. He yelled offensive stuff and then he tried to slam the door on his way out, but it had one of those things on it that makes the door close slowly. He pushed it hard, it didn't budge, and he slipped and fell on the floor. We had a good laugh. When my ex-husband, who stole $4,000 from me to go visit his mistress in another country, called me to beg for money, actually my credit card number, as if, because his lights got cut off. I can see you sitting there grinning ear to ear, drinking a glass of wine, just flipping the lights on and off. The other day, I was taking my dog for a walk around the neighborhood. She squatted down to take a crap, and I reached for my doggy bags only to realize I was fresh out. So I peeked around, making sure nobody was looking, and I just left it. 10 minutes later, I'm walking across the road, and I cut through a thin grass medallion in the center, and what do you know? I stepped in dog crap. I wasn't even mad. I knew I deserved it. When I was in first grade, my class had recess, and this bully pushed me to the ground. I fell and was about to go off on the kid when this fourth grader came over, lifted the kid up, and took the kid over to the principal. Karma is the crap. I was at a party one time, and this one girl couldn't stop talking crap about this other girl that was coming to the party. The other girl shows up, and this dude picked her up and hugged her and spun her around in a way where her foot kicked the girl that was talking crap right in the head/face while she was sitting on the couch. Her beer spilled all over her, and she caught a black eye. Contagious black eyes are the worst. Happened to me at work. M-Head was trying to pay with like 1,000 coins for a $5 scratch-off. She tried to say she was only 10 cents short, ended up being over $1 short, then complained and said any decent person would have spotted her the money. Pretty much told her she could go down the street and try there if she'd like. She pulled out a 20 and bought 2. As she walked out the store, she said, "Karma is a B." When she gets to her car, a cop pulls up behind, blocking her in. They proceed to search the car, then arrest her and her boyfriend. It was hilarious. Frick her. A classmate in school broke one of his legs and was using crutches. He was about to go down the stairs, and another kid kicked one of his crutches down the stairs. I walked down there and got his crutch for him, and while walking back up, the kid who kicked the crutches came tumbling down, and I moved out of the way. The kid broke his arm. Last Saturday, I was on a crowded New York City subway at 2 a.m. 2 drunk dudes, young 20s, lighting a joint and walking around flaunting it. One literally came up to me, "You think a pothead ain't gonna smoke a joint?" Whatever that means. The whole train kept ignoring them, and they kept parading around being a bunch of morons. They spotted 2 taller, athletic-looking dudes and started making fun of them for looking like cops. It was the line, "Which one of you is the sergeant?" that finally put the athletic guys over the edge. They looked at each other, smiled, reached into their pockets, and pulled out their badges. Okay, boys, empty your pockets. The subway blew up in laughter. They would have gotten away with everything if they just didn't go bother the 2 plainclothes police officers. Score 1 for the good guys. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. I worked as a bartender at a bowling alley. For some reason, one of the other bartenders hated me. She was constantly poaching people on my side, horseshoe-shaped bar, so we each got a side. We split tips, and whenever it was her turn to count them down, I know she wasn't splitting them properly. Tried to get the scheduling manager to put her on my days, etc. One of my regulars even said she caught her pocketing tips and not putting them in our communal bucket when I was working with her. Well, tournament season started, which everyone dreaded/looked forward to. Dreaded because the shifts were twice or 3 times as long as normal and there was a constant rush of people at the bar. Looked forward to because shifts were 2 or 3 times as long as normal and there was a constant rush of people at the bar, so we'd make as much in a day as we did in a week. Well, the first tournament was teams that she considered hers. They bowled on her side on days she worked, so she knew them well and was looking forward to their tournament tips. She came in, saw that I was scheduled to bartend that day, and flipped out. She started ranting to the manager, who happened to be the scheduling manager, and the owner of the place happened to be standing there. The owner pretty much said I was one of the better bartenders, so I was getting put on the tournaments, and if she didn't like it, she could just leave. My coworker left, and then I got to work her normal shifts as well. Oof, I hope you got someone to join you on the bar, though. Be or not, that'd be a heck with one person. When I was a kid, I threw a basketball into a puddle in front of a friend of mine, splashing him. I'm walking backwards, pointing and laughing. I then turn around right into a pole and knock myself out. I was working in a pub in Liverpool and had just arrived about 10 a.m. to start my shift. I knocked on the door and waited for someone to let me in. I became aware of some voices shouting and turned around to see 2 guys, shirts off, swaggering towards me, talking in a language I didn't understand. They came right up to me, and what little English they did speak came out. They called me a frigging W and a fricking B, etc. Nasty stuff, and I was really quite scared. I was knocking on the door really hard at this point, but after insulting me and laughing, they walked off towards a busy road. I watched as they walked out into the traffic, waving their arms at the cars to stop for them, then giving the drivers the finger. Suddenly, one of the cars stopped and 4 big guys got out. One of the nasty dudes ran off, but the big man got caught and shoved hard against the car a couple of times, clearly hurting his head and elbow. Then, one of the car guys made out that he was going to punch him, big time, drawing his fist far back. The little crap just covered his face and screamed. They didn't get hit, but the car guys and a lot of passers-by burst out laughing. Then they let him go, and he ran away. That felt good. My dad kicked our dog because it was standing in front of the fridge and he wanted a beer. But as soon as he opened the fridge, the shelf that was holding the beer fell off and every single can busted open. Woman on a cell phone runs me off the road, flips me off for laying on the horn. The road dead ends a mile up the road. She was going right and I was a ways back going left. A van was in front of her at the red light and she just plows into the back of it. I slowed down as I passed with the window down. Running me off the road wasn't enough to get your attention, huh? She flips out. I laugh and drive off into the sunset. My brother was making fun of an old man slowly shuffling across a parking lot. Look at Speedy Gonzales or something, and 2 seconds after he, my brother, bashes his foot on the cement parking barrier. He limped back to the car as I laughed hysterically. Gimpy Gonzales. Guy who used to make fun of me in middle school turned into the kid all the teachers made jokes about. Seeing that butthole who continues to swerve in and out of traffic, speed like no other, and cut you and others off multiple times gets pulled over. I worked for a contracted unloading service in a warehouse. One of the guys on my crew is an absolute little bee sometimes. Complains about his work, tries to leave early every day, bums cigarettes off everyone without ever bringing his own pack, etc. He even owes some of my other coworkers money, I believe, but I digress. On Thursday, he lost his crap over a produce load and threw a temper tantrum, kicking boxes, tearing down tall pallets of product, and causing a lot of damage. Right as the site manager walked by his trailer door. Got suspended without pay and was told he is on his last chance with the company. Now it's only a matter of time before he gets fired. Sweet, sweet karma. I was working at a mental health facility for the elderly as a nurse. Worked there for over a year with a perfect work record. I worked for the same company at another elderly facility, also for the same amount of time with a perfect work record. My coworker found out I have PTSD and decided to tell my boss at the psych facility that I have PTSD, and the two together plotted to have me committed. One day in October 2012, they launched their attack. I was working a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift and doing very well for 2 hours when my boss called me into her office to congratulate me on 1 year's service. When we were in her office alone, she started grilling me about my mental health and how it plays out at home. Next thing I know, she's forcing me to call my coworker who is off duty and making me go with her to the psych emergency because I have PTSD. The entire meeting was designed to stress me out and cause me to be triggered enough to behave poorly or crazy somehow to rationalize the next step, which was to cart me off to emergency. And when they see me, they will instantly know I belong locked away in a padded room. They didn't, though. The hospital said I was just fine, just stressed out about being forced to go to the hospital like a crazy person for no reason other than admitting I had PTSD. After the hospital let me go, my boss put me on extended medical leave without telling me and ignored all my calls for 2 weeks. Wrote letters lying about me to her bosses in the HR department. I filed a union grievance and a complaint with a third-party whistleblower company for my company's head office to hear about. My boss lied about me to everyone. She said I told her I had a murderer in my head, that I was standing in front of mirrors with knives wanting to cut flesh. They believed her, so they shut down my complaints. I took it to the Human Rights Tribunal, self-represented against the largest long-term care provider in North America, and I freaking won. Took 3 long years from incidents to end of court. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. My employer's health declined considerably by the time trial happened. She lost her job, she had to move to the mainland, and there is a forever public record about what she did. The coworker who helped my boss is in the permanent record at the employees of the job site were ordered to learn of what she and our boss had done to me and the outcome. She will never be comfortable at that job site again, and who/what she is known to all. I got the highest amount awarded for damages to dignity and self. I created a precedent for other PTSD persons with clean work history who do a good job on the clock but have very real struggles with PTSD symptoms at home. No karma could possibly taste better than $40K and a clear reputation. Wow, she is just evil. I'm so glad you got through the court case and she got what was coming to her. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.